Alright, hello, it's John here. Just a little update and thing before we start off this video. I'm in Tame at the Travelodge. Why? Yeah, there's a reason for it, but we'll get onto that another time. All you need to know right now is the video you're about to watch was meant to be released probably about 6 months ago at least. So if there's, if it's come a bit out of nowhere, and if some of the lingo is a little bit like 2024, that's why, because it's just taken a little longer than I wanted to edit it. But it's all edited now. It's the bits of Oxfordshire that I didn't quite get around to doing. So yes, that's what it is. Just yeah, that's all you need to know. And enjoy. Well, what is going on here? I hear some of you asking. Walking Oxfordshire finished a year ago, and I thought he said in the series that the walk was completed back in 2022. What can possibly be discussed over 2 years on from that? Well, it's not done. It's never done. Don't get me wrong, I have been to most of the towns and interesting places in the county, and even went back later on to do some extra walks to places that I failed to make it to on the first attempt. But even these extra walks didn't fully cover the county. Not really. There's always more to do. So spread over the next year and a half, I went on 3 journeys, each of varying length, that I hoped would tie up all those loose ends. In this video, I'll talk about those walks, and possibly describe a bit about my next adventure. We start off in December 2022, outside the Radcliffe Camera. You join me on a cold December afternoon in Oxford. Radcliffe Camera, I was here about 2 months ago after completing the last leg. So what this leg is, I've got to get to the last Wetherspoons. I've been to all 7 others in the county. There's one more that I've not been to on this trip, and I thought, well, why have one missing from the roster? So yeah, this is going to be a very small walk. I don't even know if it counts as an extra walk, but just to say that I've been to every Wetherspoons in Oxfordshire, we're walking from the Radcliffe Camera to Richard Morris or Walker. It's Richard Morris or Richard Walker, one of the two. It's in Cowley, it's about 3 bars away. So yeah, that's what we're doing now. I got the name of the pub totally wrong. It is in fact the William Morris, but I was at least correct in stating that it is in Cowley, an area of Oxford in the southeast of the city. Despite the temperature barely making it into positive figures, the thought of a Wetherspoons was of course enough for me to make my way in its direction. This was certainly not the most thrilling walk I've ever been on, but I could now say I've been to every Wetherspoons in Oxfordshire, and that is something to be happy about. I stayed here for a few hours, and funnily enough, I spent most of my time there on my laptop editing the rough cut of episode 2 of Walking Oxfordshire. If you want a bit of behind the scenes of these walks, I'd say that about 60% of Oxfordshire was edited in various Wetherspoons. They are my new editing station. Back to that day, unfortunately when I left it was nearly dark due to it being December, but I didn't mind. I'd completed this very short but essential walk. So the winter of 2022 and 23 persisted, and you won't be surprised to hear that walking was not a priority for me at this time. But what was a priority was editing Oxfordshire and sorting out my next journey. Yes, I haven't been totally inactive, but as to why it's been so long since I've uploaded a walk, well, you'll have to wait and see to find out why. At the time, however, I was preparing myself both mentally and physically for said journey, and needed a long walk that I could do for practice, and a perfect one all revolved around two towns that I hadn't fully been to in Oxfordshire. The trouble is, if I were to go between these towns from my home in Reading in a single day, then I'd be looking at a 25-mile walk. And I'm sorry, but after somehow walking 21 miles to Didcot, I said to myself, I'd never do that distance again. But nobody said I couldn't split this walk over 2 legs. So I'm back at Caversham Bridge. Why am I back here? Because I thought Oxfordshire was done. No, it's not done. There are 3, maybe 4 points, which I didn't get to on the major walk. You may argue that I could have got to them on the extra walks that I did, which were the ones to Whitney, Abingdon and Whitehorse and whatever. Well, no, I only really figured out I wanted to do these afterwards. This is a long time after I did those walks. Like, this is actually the first practice walk for my next series. So those 4 points that I want to get to are Watlington, Wallingford proper, not the outskirts of Wallingford, Wallingford proper, Woodstock, and maybe Charlbury if I have time. So 4 walks to do. The first one is actually not to any of these places, it's just to allow myself to walk to Watlington and Wallingford on the same day. I need to get to this bus stop, which is at Peppard Common, and that's it. In order to get to this bus stop, which acts as a perfect jumping off point to make it to Watlington and Wallingford, I'd ventured north through Caversham and Emma Green and up to the large villages of Sonning Common and Peppard Common, where the bus stop is located. I'd then walked a few miles east to revisit Henley to get a bit more footage there. This walk was in very familiar territory for me, but I had to do it, as at the time I was really into connecting every extra walk into the major route around Oxfordshire, and the leg after this one would connect to the major route not once, but twice. As you can tell, I have a lot to discuss about the second leg, but for now, I walk north at Caversham. So we are at the Unicorn. Why I'm here is because this is the end of the Route 25 and it's the northernmost bus stop, which is a Reading bus stop. I'll start the next walk from here. The whole point of today was just to cut out 2 hours of that walk. That walk itself will be about from here to Watlington and then Wallingford. That'll be about 6 hours, probably 7-8 hours. So doing this little walk today has cut out a lot of that addendum walk. The next time I'm here will hopefully be next week, and I'm going to walk a bit further north. Of course, I could get the bus back from here, but there's another little thing I want to do, and that's to get some B-roll in Henley. So I've got to walk to Henley and get some more shots there. Shouldn't be that much longer, about an hour and a half to walk there, I should imagine. You can easily spot what's filmed this day in episode 8 of Oxfordshire, because these are the shots where the weather looks a lot brighter. Don't you worry though, we don't need to talk about Henley ever again. Or do we? More on that later. Wanting to get this part of the episode done sooner rather than later, the following week I made my way back to Peppard Common to really get into the nitty gritty of this walk. Okay, once again I am at the Unicorn for the second addendum walk. Not extra walk, addendum walk. Even though this one's probably more of an extra walk because I'm actually going somewhere that I originally wanted to go in the major part of the series, and that's Watlington. I initially wanted to get to the small town of Watlington on day 9 of the walk from Tame to Henley. However, by that stage of the walk, well, let's just say, the shorter the distance, the better I felt. So Watlington was off the cards, and during the period of late 2022 when I was doing the extra walks, I didn't feel Watlington was essential enough to warrant making a journey for. However, a couple of things had changed my mind by the start of 2023. Firstly, in addition to lacking a visit to Watlington, I also wasn't satisfied with my visit to Wallingford in the major walk, and now had a desire to make a walk that combines both there and Watlington. And secondly, for the longest time I was actually unaware of how many towns there are in Oxfordshire. There are 16 in fact, not including the city of Oxford and Deddington and Sherwell, which are seeing conflicting reports on whether it's a town or a village. And by this time, I'd not set a single toe in 3 of these towns, with Watlington being one of them. With a new god to not only get to every Wetherspoons, but also every town, I drew up a plan for this leg. Starting off in Peppard Common, I'd venture northwards through the Chilterns, encountering Nettlebed and revisiting Christmas Common. From there I'd drastically change direction, heading west to Watlington, and then go even further to the village of Benson and its neighbouring town Wallingford, which I'd make a note to properly explore this time. I'd end the day at the exact same spot where I'd just about entered Wallingford on day 1 of the journey. With 9 hours to do just under 20 miles, I set off into the light rain. It has been a bit rainy though, and that's one of the problems I'm going to run into today, is that there'll be a bit of mud on the ground. There's a bit of touch and go as to whether or not I'll be able to do the walk today, to be honest, because of the rain, but it looked like the weather's going to be alright, so we're going to do it. Less than a month now until I do the next walk, so I think I've explained basically everything. Let's go from where we left off the other day, and let's go to Watlington. Okay, just entering Nettlebed. It's raining a little bit, so the shots aren't that good. Yeah, I'm on the A4130 as well, which is the road which goes from Henley into Didcot. I was surprised a bit by Nettlebed. In my initial plan for the Oxfordshire route, Nettlebed was present, but I quickly and correctly concluded that I'd never make it there on day 9. But I was glad to make it here in the end, because of its curiosities like this rock and this kiln. The day was nowhere near done though, so I made my way in the general direction of Watlington and Christmas Common. Okay, I've officially connected the route back to Christmas Common from Peppard Common. Last time I was at this exact spot, I was venturing, well, into the unknown. I was actually venturing into the known from the unknown, if that makes sense. But it was down this byway here which destroyed my feet even more than they already were. And now we've got to get to Watlington because that's where I wanted to end up the day I was here, but I never did. So, right, there was Bex, and then let's go. Watlington is surprisingly close to Christmas Common. I wouldn't have said it would have been easy to get there, especially down to the sharp descent of the Chilterns between these two settlements, but it would have been only ever so slightly harder than the byway I took in the direction of Henley. What's notable about the hill east of Watlington is it has the Watlington White Mark on it. Not quite as grand as the Uffington White Horse, but it's still a fascinating landmark in an area of the county otherwise devoid of them. Shortly on from here, I entered Watlington itself. Okay, so I'm outside Watlington Town Hall in Watlington. I wanted to go here, obviously, on the second to last day of the walk. I couldn't make it, so I'm here now, and it's quite small. Quite small for a town. I must be honest, I was expecting a tad more from the town. It's not Carterton levels of uninspired, but it's nowhere near as interesting as Burford, which is a lot smaller. But I didn't mind, I'd made it to another town in the county, and now had my eyes set on the rest of the day.
A407 for first time since the first day of the walk. Been past Watlington and Benson since I last talked to the camera. This shows when there's not like a bag on my back, just how little I've got to talk about. So yeah, right. The plan for here, we're just going to cross the road. We're not going to actually walk any distance on it. We're just going to cross it to the road which goes to the Thames Path. And we're going to follow that into Wallingford. Okay, so I wanted to go down Thames Path over Benson Lock, but it's closed. So, I'm out of luck. Yeah, okay. Well, we'll work it out.
Until looking back at these clips, I forgot about this slight problem with the leg, and now I see it, it's quite funny that similar issues affected me further downstream on the Thames in a later adventure. Back to this walk though, and it was nearly over. I just had to make it to Wallingford. Compared to Watlington, Wallingford is on another level. It's easy to tell this due to how much footage I managed to shoot here, even with my cameras running on fumes by this point. Wallingford is also surprisingly one of the most historic towns in the whole country. It shouldn't really surprise me because of its strategic position on the Thames, but despite it being the second closest Oxfordshire town to Reading, I was totally unaware of its past. I would have loved to have made it deeper into this place on day one of the major walk, but time and distance were big limiting factors that day, so as I've already mentioned, I only got as far as this sign just off the town's major bypass road. And for that reason, I had to make it there again this day.
At this point here, on this roundabout, on the A4130, on the way from outside Wallingford to Didcot, I walked on. So I've officially triple connected the route from Pepper Common to Christmas Common to Wallingford. And that's the day done. Yeah, I'll pass through Wallingford, pass through Watlington today, and Littlebed. It's pretty successful, I think. There should be one more walk in this Addendum series. Maybe two. More I think of it, maybe there's two more. But yeah, I'll see you for the next one.
Now strap yourselves in, as this is where things take a turn. Despite the walk to Wallingford going exceptionally well and feeling really confident about my upcoming long distance walk because of it, I didn't have time to organise the final Addendum walk before I ventured towards pastures new. I said to myself, that's okay, I'll do it in the summer. But little did I know, the big walk that year, let's say, did not go totally according to plan. I'll say little more though, as that's a story for another time. So with my first completely failed journey under my belt, I must be honest, I was lacking the need to go on any further walks that summer and throughout the rest of 2023. Motivation was at an all-time low, but in early 2024 I thought up a new walk that was related to the one I did the previous year, but I hoped this one would prove to be successful. In order to give myself the best shot of succeeding this time, I wanted to start training earlier in the year than I ever had. Early March in fact, and every week or two before I set off in May, I set aside a day in which I'd walk at least 10 miles. These continued throughout March and April, and it was late in the game that I remembered that I had not completed this video. I had not completed Oxfordshire.
Oh wow. It's been a long time. The last time I filmed editing for this episode was pretty much a year ago. It's 2024, and yeah, it's taken this leading long. But hey, we're doing it. We're doing this one now. Finally, at long last. Right, so what am I doing? I am finally gonna complete Oxfordshire. Well, maybe not complete it fully, but I'm finally gonna get to the last couple of towns which I still haven't been to. Those are Woodstock and Charbury. About 12-13 miles. We're gonna walk. Yeah, for the first time in ages I'm gonna film and walk at the same time. Let's go.
So the more detailed plan of this leg was to start off at Oxford Parkway station, which I passed on leg 7 of the walk between Bicester and, well, Oxford. And as you can probably tell from the position of the station, this journey will see me back in the northern half of the county for the first time since I was at the northernmost point in October 2022. I'd see the large village of Kidlington, Oxford Airport, the easternmost point of the Cotswolds, the least used train station in the county, and hopefully ending it at Shipton Station, which I passed on day 4. More notably, however, I had 3 places I needed to make it to: Woodstock, Blenheim Palace, and Charlbury. With a lot to pack into this day, I set off towards Kidlington.
Just past London Oxford Airport. How is it anywhere near London? I do not get that strategy. Right, London Gatwick, that doesn't really make sense. London Southend, London Stansted, they don't make sense to be called London. Yeah, that's Oxford Airport, not London Oxford Airport. Right, so from here on out, we've left Kidlington. Plan is to get to Woodstock along the A44. Should be a nice place, Woodstock. I'm looking forward to it. I saw a plane come in. I'm happy with that. Shouldn't be surprised. A plane landing at an airport. But I'm still surprised I saw one. We're on the A44. Last time I was on it was in Chipping Norton. That was just a little short stretch of it. It's the road which goes between Oxford and Evesham and Worcester. Right, can't see any reason why I get the camera up before Woodstock now, so let's get to Woodstock. Why not? Outside Woodstock Town Hall, one of the most picturesque towns in Oxfordshire, definitely.
Now, colour me impressed. None of my route originally went close to Woodstock, but looking back, I probably should have made it so it did, as this is one of the best looking towns in Oxfordshire.
Why I didn't come here before? I ignored it. Terribly sorry, I ignored it. But I made it here now. 2 years late, but oh well. And I'm glad I made it here, because it's so picturesque. This place, lovely, lovely place. Very Cotswoldy. Here on out, we get to Charlbury, which is another place I ignored.
Before I got to Charlbury, however, I had to make it to Woodstock's biggest attraction, Blenheim Palace. Entering the grounds through a suspiciously open gate and around a suspiciously closed gate, and honestly not certain about if I was even allowed to be here, I made it to the historic manor.
Blenheim Palace. Oh, this is up there with the Uffington White Horse. It's one of the most impressive sights in Oxfordshire. And I didn't come here for 2 years, so yeah, shame on me. I mean, I'm a little surprised I got this far, because I thought the whole grounds would be blocked off unless you paid a handsome amount of money to get in. And now I'm this close. I'm satisfied with being this close, to be honest. Yeah, you see the palace in all of its grandeur, very good views, nice park, and you can see Woodstock over there. So what's not to love about this place? Probably the most famous person to come out of Blenheim Palace is Winston Churchill, and it's the Duke of Marlborough, I think. It's the palace of the Duke of Marlborough. I'm not great with history, as we've already established, but you know, I don't know why my walk didn't take me here before now, but here we are. Better late than never, innit? Blenheim Palace. What a sight.
Despite the pleasure of being here, I was still concerned about a couple of things. For one, my detour to Blenheim Palace did take a huge chunk out of my day, making it near impossible for me to have the time to connect the route back to Shipton Station, the ideal endpoint. And two, my concerns about not really being allowed in were proven correct when I tried to get out.
Right, I've encountered a small problem. I can't get out of it. Yeah, I'm a bit screwed. I thought this would be a nice open road. No, it wasn't. But there wasn't any indication that I was on private property, so maybe they could have signposted it better. Yeah, there is a gate here, which looks open. I can't see anything saying it's private, so I may go for that. I mean, if nothing else, this is the direction I want to go anyway, so I'm mildly heading in the right direction. We'll see where we end up. I believe I found my way out of there. You can see this behind me. No access. I didn't see one of them coming this way. But I believe I found my way out. There's a little group of stairs there, and I hope that will take me over to the road.
Fortunately for me, these stairs took me out of the private property and towards Charlbury.
train home from here, because the only train that's running goes in the other direction. But this is Finstock Station. I don't normally talk about trains, but I happen to remember this is the least used station in Oxfordshire, so I had to come here. Not really a lot to talk about here, other than I'm getting a train for the next station, which is a bit busier. Not a lot bigger, I don't think. Yeah, far cry from Reading Station, sure.
And the next station along is at Charlbury. I was not at all expecting the town to live up to Woodstock, so I had another way of making it notable. As if I wasn't neatly tying up all the loose ends of Walking Oxfordshire, there is one more that even I forgot about until shortly before I set off. Haugen Lager. Chip and Norton failed to have it on day 4 of the journey back in May 2022. I was crossing my fingers that the Bell in Charlbury would have it in April 2024. There was only one way to find out, and that was to make it there. Success. And there was even more to be happy about, as this is Charlbury. I could in theory have made it here on day 4, only adding 5 or so miles to a very short day, but at the time I was unaware Charlbury was even a town. Plus, nothing really sets it apart from the other Cotswold settlements in the county. Nothing wrong with it, it's just not got a lot of talking points. No matter though, this is Charlbury, the final place I'll go to in this series.
Alright, I'm at Charlbury Station. A bit more of a station than Finstock, but not like a lot of station. About 21 minutes till the train right now. It's not too bad. It could have been a Shipton or Finstock situation, which has one train a day. I'm a little disappointed I didn't make it to Shipton. Yeah, a little. Then again, there's nothing between here and Shipton anyway. It was about 1.5 hours of nothing. And I didn't have the time to do it, so I haven't missed out on anything. The only thing I missed out on is linking up the route, which is important in the series, but at the same time the series has ended. We're 1.5 years on from when I thought I filmed the last thing for the series, so I think I'm forgiven if I stop it here. But let's not ignore the fact that I finally got my pint of Haugen.
Yes, I haven't connected the route, and there are still places I haven't been to in Oxfordshire, even some are mentioned in the series, but to be honest, very little would persuade me to organise a walk to Chinner, or to go a short uninteresting distance from Charlbury to Shipton. So this is it, I can now say I've completed Oxfordshire. I never want to be here, walking a long distance with a heavy bag and camera gear, ever again.
I am currently in Headley. I walked here yesterday amidst a lot of mud and a bit of rain. Today it's sunny, so I think we should finally make it to the East Coast.
Well, I guess I'm heading out again.